It can't be. That flashback, was it real? Or is it just fantasy? Darklaw, why are you doing this? Are you trying to undo everything I have accomplished in the past 10 years? No, you have already ruined everything yourself. What is it that you want? What I want? My aim is to make the truth known so that everything returns to how it should be. Miss Darklaw, will you tell us what you remember about what happened back then, more than 10 years ago? It would be my pleasure. It was the day of the fire festival. Aspella and I went up to the bell tower. The wind was strong that day. When the sun had set, the festival began. It's true that the whole town burned down that day. The fire consumed buildings and people, turning them into ashes. We were the only survivors. We stayed in the belfry while the world below us was being eaten up by hungry flames. The legendary fire is no fable. It happened here more than 10 years ago. Objection! There are no such things as magic and fire dragons, so how could a whole town be destroyed in just one night? That's something I'd like to know as well. Even if we assume the celebratory fires got out of control, surely the whole town wouldn't have perished like that. They would if they were asleep. Now it all makes sense. That was the missing piece of this puzzle. What do you mean, Professor? I can imagine now what transpired that night. What happened in the belfry and what caused the legendary fire. We have all the clues we need. If the Inquisition has evidence to show us, I'd very much like to see it. What caused the legendary fire? Yep, the bell. The Bell of Ruin.
Have a look.
The cause of the fire is in the belfry. The bell? That bell had been made by the natives and later sealed underground. It was called the Bell of Ruin. By the way, why does this bell have such an ominous name? Could it be because it's made of pure silver? Pure silver? Exactly. Mr. Cantabella had told us earlier that everyone who lives here has a very peculiar condition. This condition makes people fall unconscious upon the sound of a certain metal being struck. And that metal is pure silver. Yes, and we've been told the condition is brought about by drinking the groundwater. Indeed. That bell was also the reason why the original inhabitants of this area decided to forsake it. It seems that the Bell of Ruin caused a devastating disaster. To those who have gained entry into this sanctum, heed our words. You must not ring the Bell of Ruin. I can't help but wonder what disaster this bell had caused. An enormous bell made of pure silver, and the locals with their peculiar condition. It's not too hard to imagine what happened. It was probably the same calamity as the one that happened over 10 years ago. And that is... well, what disaster happened to this town before Labyrinthia was built? Ah! The legendary fire. Now, let us contemplate the following scenario. What would happen if the Bell of Ruin were sounded during the fire festival? Oh! Everyone who heard it would fall unconscious. As it was an annual festival, all the townspeople were assembled in the town square. Oh dear. Therefore, on the night of the fire festival over 10 years ago, all the residents instantly lost consciousness when the bell was struck. Oh no! Oh yeah. Had it been even just slightly windy that day, the fires lit for the Great Witch Bazella would have gone out of control, and they would spread throughout the town and no one left to stop them. Because everyone was unconscious. Exactly. That also includes the 2 girls who were in the belfry. Aspella and I. You were the closest to the source of the sound, so it was inevitable. When you recovered consciousness, it was already too late. The town had been swallowed by flames, as if a fire dragon had come to burn it. That was a calamity caused by the bell. You say here that the cause of calamity is the Great Witch Bazella. That night, in this very town, Bazella was more than a mythical persona.
Bazella. She's losing it again. The Bell of Ruin. Bazella!
To be continued again? Wow. Alright then. Mr. Cantabella, I would like to apologize for putting too much pressure on your daughter. Only your words can bring her back from the brink of madness. Let her hear the truth from her own father. All according to your plan, Layton. You've driven Aspella into a corner in order to push me to the wall. I had no other choice. Aspella, please listen to me. Oh, she want to hear none of it. You haven't done anything wrong. You didn't cause that accident. You have suffered so much, thinking that you were Bazella. I must take the blame for that. You, Mr. Cantabella? I sacrificed everything to make up for what I've done. But all I managed to do was inflict more pain upon others. Is that not so, Dark Law? Now that you are willing to talk, Mr. Cantabella, would you mind telling us your story? Yours as well as yours, as well as Aspella's and Miss Darklaw's. Very well. This story, too, began when I was a young lad. When Newton and I were still youths, full of dreams and hope. As you already know, we discovered the underground ruins. And deep within them lay that accursed bell. The Bell of Ruin. At the time, we still lacked the knowledge to decipher any of the writings we found there. This bell is magnificent! It's bound to make the most beautiful sound. I have an idea. Why don't we make this bell the symbol of our town? How do you propose to that? To do that, let's build a bell tower for it. Then we can ring it on special occasions. I knew it was something like that. That's not a bad idea. Let's just kill the whole town. Then it's settled. When we grow up, let's do it. Okay, just don't forget about it. The two of us chose different paths in life. I studied management in London, while Newton devoted himself to the study of the natural sciences. And then, you made a fortune following the invention of a new anesthetic? We both got married around that time, and each of us had a daughter. You mean, Aspella was born shortly after your company gained funding? That's right. We eventually returned to our hometown and set about realizing our childhood dream. Having built the bell tower in the middle of the town square, we retrieved the bell itself from the underground ruins. We aspired to make it a symbol of prosperity for this unindustrialized town. Whew, almost got me there. The bell was to be officially displayed during the annual fire festival. It would be rung in the morning following the night of the celebration. Pardon the interruption, but at the time, were you aware of the meaning behind the bell's name? Obviously we were not. Thinking back to my ignorance at the time, a chill now runs down my spine. Oh, she still don't want to hear none of it. Okay. Newton and I went to the bell tower the day before the festival. Only one more day to go. We've waited a long time for this. That we have. This town will no longer be the same after tomorrow. They still have white hair? Aren't they only... Oh, okay. The bell weighed so much that ringing it was not easy. We tackled that problem by constructing a special mechanism, which we installed in the belfry. Okay, okay.
I want to hear the bell. Can I make it ring? Daddy, please, let me ring it.
Aspella, who was there with us, was utterly enchanted by the bell. She wasn't a bad child, but she was very stubborn and would rarely listen to me when she wanted something. I told her a story to try and convince her to leave the bell alone.
Aspella, listen carefully. You mustn't ring this bell.
But why? Why can't I, Daddy?
You know about Bezella the witch.
Uh-huh. She's an evil fire witch who uses magic to hurt people.
If you ring this bell, Bezella will come out and possess you.
Possess me? You mean I'll turn into Bezella?
That's right, Aspella. When Bezella possesses someone, she uses them to do terrible things. That's why you must never ring this bell, sweetheart.
I understand, Daddy.
There's a good girl.
The legend of Bezella has been passed around these parts for centuries. It probably originated from beliefs of the tribes that populated this area in the past. What I told Aspella was just a silly story that I invented for the occasion. It was only meant to stop her from ringing the bell. I could not have imagined that it would have such far-reaching consequences. It's all coming back to me now. I remember that day. On the day of the fire festival, just around the time when the preparations ended and everything was about to begin. I snuck out of our house. I took Mum's pendant with me. Your mother's pendant? Do you mean this one? Yes, it belonged to my mom. We needed to limit access to the bell, so we made 2 keys. We decided to make them into pendants, and each gave one to our respective wives. Both are needed in order to access the belfry. I saw you and Mr. Belduke use them, so I told Eve to meet me at the bell tower.
Daddy says Bezella will come out if I ring the bell, but if I do it just a little... I want to try it while the festival is going on. I hope Eve doesn't forget her mum's pendant.
So it is just as I thought, Miss Darklaw. You are Mr. Belduke's daughter. Well done, Inquisitor. I was almost afraid you would fail to make that connection. What in the... This is too much for one day! Lady Darklaw, you mean to say that you're Sir Belduke's daughter? Yes, my real name is Eve Belduke. I am the alchemist's daughter. This is unbelievable! I also snuck out of my house that evening, clutching my mother's pendant in my hand. I did just as you asked me to, did I not, Aspella?
Aspella, my mum's going to be so angry if she notices I took the pendant. Don't worry so much. I just really want to ring that bell. I want to hear it.
Good job, you killed everyone. I rang the bell, against my father's warning, and so Bezella possessed me. Because of me, the town and everyone in it. They're all gone. Yep. No, it's not your fault. Stop blaming yourself. Supposedly, the former inhabitants of this area also used to fall unconscious upon the sound of that bell. Perhaps they experienced a similar nightmare. It was I who brought the Bell of Ruin into this town. The one to blame for this calamity is not some witch, it's me! I brought destruction upon this town. I am Bezella. Aspella! You're going to drive your dad crazy if you keep repeating that. Seeing you like this is giving me a strong feeling of déjà vu. Eve, how can you be so evil? Are you happy now? I'm afraid we're in the dark as regards... What? I'm afraid we're in the dark as regards Miss Darklaw's sense of déjà vu. Only 4 people survived the fire. Aspella and Eve, who were in the belfry, and the only 2 residents who did not participate in the festival, Newton and I. And where were you at the time, if you'll permit my asking? We were investigating those fateful ruins. That's why we didn't notice anything until it was too late. It was getting near the time at which we planned to ring the bell, so we headed towards the town. Then we saw it. The town had been burnt to ashes, the air shimmering from the heat. That's too awful for words. We searched for survivors, sick with anxiety. Eventually, we found our daughters in the bell tower. Aspella was unresponsive, like a doll. Eve was crying at her side. Our relief at having found them vied with terror caused by the disaster. The worst night of my life ended, pierced with the first rays of sunshine. But then, it seemed Aspella was already lost to us. We had lost her to Bezella. She wouldn't speak, eat, or even leave her room. She thought she was Bezella, and that she had destroyed the town. I couldn't get that out of her head. What she saw from the bell tower must have been so terrifying. But I wasn't shocked from what she had seen. My own words had put her in that state. Had I only not told her that stupid story. We had been grasping at straws, trying to find a way to save Aspella's mind. But whatever we did, her eyes would remain impassive and empty. In the end, I came upon a certain idea that offered us a glimpse of hope. What was it? This suspense, it's too much for my aging heart. I believe I may know what it was. It was the only way to get through to little Aspella. Inquisition, what are you talking about? Now it's time to present the first story. Yep, that's it, the first story.
Have a look.
Have a look. We discovered this in Aspella's room. And that is... It's a handmade picture book. The illustrations and handwriting are truly exquisite. That's the first story I wrote. I made it for Aspella after that dreadful fire. The storyteller's first story. It was but a simple children's story. The plot was very straightforward. The townsfolk joined forces to banish evil witches who served Bezella.
Aspella, do you understand now? You aren't Bezella. Bezella is somewhere out there, sending out other witches to do bad things to the people of our town.
Witches, magic, the town perishing in flames. Aspella was mentally broken, and I couldn't get through to her any other way. I talked to her as if magic and witches were real, avoiding any mention of that fire.
Daddy. A witch is real.
Aspella spoke to me for the first time in so many days. I was beyond myself with joy, and replied without thinking.
Oh, yes, they are. They're hiding in the town, among the people.
But it's just a fairy tale.
I was desperate. I feared she would close herself off to me again. Now, in hindsight, I see what an utter fool I was. I made an irreversible mistake yet again. Ladies and gentlemen, the next video will be the last video. I hope you're all excited. I'm gonna make it longer than usual, so I hope you're all prepared for next Monday for the final episode. Bye-bye!